something is happening in the AFL right now that has not happened for a very, very long time. And I think it's very safe to say that if you're a St Kilda fan, you're definitely sitting there with a lot more hope than what you probably have had in previous years. Again, two of my best mates are both Saints fans, and just hearing the feedback and how they think they're going, there's definitely something in the air right now that speaks optimism for what the future is going to look like. Again, there's a couple of things that contribute to this at the moment. Their ladder position, it isn't that good. Let's be honest here. It's not that good, and we probably didn't expect it to be that good. But what's going on right now with the Saints is that they actually have a lot of really good young players right now, which is something I wouldn't say they've had in a minute. Again, unfortunately, they have selected player after player that have, well, quite frankly, ended up being bust. You know, this includes Paddy McCartan, Jack Billings, etc., etc. But over the last couple years, they're starting to take players that actually look pretty good. Darcy Wilson, Mateus Filippo, you know, Taru, and what's that other freaking dude's name? Who's the guy who looks like Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians? Toby Travalia, amongst a bunch of other young players who look really good, right? And it's not just that. You kind of look at the other things that are going on that are getting the Saints fans really hyped, and that's the fact that the Saints yet again have a ton of salary cap, but for the first time in forever, it seems like they're not actually, not only going to be actually using it, but a couple of players around the league seem to be actually wanting to come to the Saints, and this is kind of attributing to a lot of different reasons. Again, first and foremost, the St Kilda Football Club are doing what North Melbourne probably should have done years ago, and that is overpay for a player. Again, overpaying for a player is never usually a good thing, especially for bigger clubs around the league like Richmond, West Coast, and Collingwood. But sometimes when you're a smaller market team like the St Kilda Football Club, you need to overpay a player to get him into the door to inspire other guys to, come to the club. And this is exactly what they're doing with De Koning. Again, Tom De Koning is a really, really good player. Should he be the highest paid player in the league, which he's about to be with this contract? Probably no. But because the St Kilda Football Club are giving him this contract, this is actually leading to the fact that I believe the St Kilda Football Club could have the best trade period they have ever had in the history of the club. Because ever since it looks like Tom De Koning is officially joining the team, it has encouraged a ton of other players to really look at the Saints, knowing that they're getting the best free agent, and best, player in the trade period. But they're also, again, building something really good with this young core. And it looks like their future is actually starting to shape up. Again, there is a list of players that they are, of course, looking at that I think will potentially come. One of them does happen to be Lee Kalia. Again, there have been multiple reports about all the players I'm going to mention right now, whether this has been through SEN, Callum Toomey, Tom Morris, etc. These players over the last couple months have been linked to St Kilda in some way or another. Again, Lee Kalia has been a big one. Apparently, the St Kilda Football Club have been monitoring him before the season even started, and I think they really wanted to see what he could look like as a future player with more games under his belt, and that is exactly what has happened. The Giants have started to give him more games as the time has gone, and he actually really is transforming into what I think will be a really, really good second key defender in the AFL, and that is exactly what the Saints need. I think they 100% have their main, first key defender, their main number one option in, of course, Cal Wilkie. But I think they're still looking for that second, third, even maybe fourth key defender option. Again, they selected Taru. They expect him to kind of be a hybrid of like what Nathan Broad has been over the years. I think of like that third, fourth tall, but also can do a lot of other things, move up the ground, play smaller as well. I think that's what they think and hoping Taru will be a better version of that eventually. Again, you look at that, but you also look at they need probably that second or third key. Leah would absolutely be a really, really good option. They are extremely interested in him. Again, another guy who could be that second or third key defender option that I think they're 100% going to be looking at does happen to be Jack Silvani. Now, Jack Silvani could very well re-sign at the time of making this video. And if he does, I wouldn't even be surprised. But the reality is he has been linked to the Saints. There have been reports out there that he's not too happy with the 2-year offer that Carlton are giving him. He wants a 3-year deal. His dad is the list manager of St Kilda. And that could very well fall into place. Again, if Carlton offer him that 3rd year, I think he'll probably just re-sign there and then. But I wouldn't be surprised with the Saints right now probably offering him like 50k more a year. And they're trying to give him that 3rd year option. So think about it, right? For most of the year, St Kilda have just had Cal Wilkie as their main key defender. But with more games into Taru and this upcoming trade period and whatnot, they're probably going to go into next year from Cal Wilkie as their kind of just main key defender to next year they could literally have Cal Wilkie, Leah, Alexander Taru, and potentially Jack Silvani down there, which would be so great. It also is so great that most of those players are really flexible and can even play a little bit smaller if they need, especially Taru and Silvani as well. So I think that would be really, really great for St Kilda. Improve that back line and make it that would be, I think, one of the more top tier back lines in the game if they did that. So again, are the Saints going to get all of these guys? Probably not. I still think Silvani will re-sign. Miles Bergman, will he go? I'm not too sure. I'm kind of confident on Aaliyah and, of course, Koning. Me talking about all these guys doesn't mean they're going to go get them. But I legitimately think the Saints would probably be the favourite for most of these guys I've just spoken about. Again, there's a couple other guys, though, that I don't think they're the favourite for that they have been linked to. Again, as we know, James Warpool, he still hasn't put pen to paper with Hawthorn just yet. Again, I still think he'll probably stay, but he hasn't re-signed. Apparently, Geelong are coming pretty hard for him. A bunch of other clubs, I think Melbourne, are really interested in him. But the reality is, I think the Saints will look at him. As I mentioned earlier, they are in the market absolutely for another inside midfielder, and they have so much cash to spend. Even if they sign Aaliyah, and Koning for that massive contract, I still think they're going to have half their salary cap to literally spend. They're not really paying anyone. They have no $1 million men from, I think, what we know. I think Max King might be their closest, but you look at teams like Melbourne who have Gorn, Pickett now, Petrarca, and Oliver, all well on over $1 million a year, and they're still looking at players like Warpool. You think St Kilda would just have so much salary cap to go and spend. So I think they'll look at Warpool. Another guy I think they'll look at is Jamar at Ugle Hagen. Now, Jamar, he has a lot of teams that I think will probably look at him. Who's going to be interested in Jamar at Ugle Hagen and who's not going to be interested in Jamar is definitely going to be a great question. It's just going to depend on what the teams think of Jamar and his upcoming situation. But Kane Corns has mentioned that he believes Ross Lyon and the Saints would actually be the perfect club to go after Jamar at Ugle Hagen. He thinks it actually makes a lot of sense, especially considering right now they're desperately looking for a new key forward. They've just been brutally destroyed with injuries to their key forwards, and they moved on Tim Membry last year to let players that have, to develop. A lot of them haven't been able to develop through the injuries. I still think they're going to be looking for a key forward. Jamara would make a lot of sense, and I actually think that would be a good pickup, and he'd actually be a really good option to put alongside Max King. So he's definitely another one. Again, Sam Butler. There hasn't been too many reports of the Saints being interested in him, but I think they'll look at him. He'll probably re-sign with Hawthorn, but it's one to consider considering his brother plays for St Kilda and has been a pretty good player for the Saints across his time there. He was robbed of an All-Australian a couple years ago. I think they'll be looking at a high half forward, another guy to put alongside Jack Higgins maybe. So he'll be another one. And then the final one I kind of just want to mention is maybe go after another cheap option like Jack Macrae. Jack Macrae was a guy they pulled out of absolutely nowhere last year who, I mean, would probably be top 3 in their best and fairest. He's been really, really good for the Saints, and I think if the Saints were giving big money to Nasai Wayne-Miller, Tom De Koning, they brought in Lake Leah, right? They re-signed and got those 3 guys in. They're probably going to be looking for a 4th and a 5th, right? I think could a Miles Bergman be one of them? Maybe. But I think they need to go for a cheap option along the line somewhere as well. And I'm not too sure who the cheap option will be. There will be 100% players out there. But a guy similar to Jack Macrae and how they were able to get him from absolutely nowhere last year, I think would be the ideal situation for the Saints going forward. But again, I think this is a beautiful time for the St Kilda Football Club to really dominate the 2025 AFL trade period because they have a lot of money, great upside. They seem to finally have everything set. They've got a really solid foundation. Players, I think, are going to look at that and be really interested. So I'm going to be interested to see who they're going to go for. Again, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions down below on who you guys think the Saints should sign, who they should trade for, whatever it's going to be. Again, I'd very much like to know. Subscribe to the channel for all the latest sports content, news, my gaming/movie channel, which will also be getting linked down below as well. But yeah, as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.